What is up, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we are breaking down James White fantasy outlook for 2020 and giving you guys the inside scoop on what we can expect from him heading into the season with Cam Newton under center. Hit that subscribe button for more videos like this, and let's get into it. So last year, definitely saw a downward trend in his overall efficiency and usage, which had to go down considering how effective he was in 2018. There was no way he was going to be able to sustain that kind of a workload, but still pretty good season overall considering where he was going in drafts. Getting a running back to a guy that gets forgotten every single year just because he's not running the ball. He's definitely more of a receiver than anything. Only finishes the year with 67 carries and 263 rushing yards, but 72 receptions and 645 receiving yards and 6 total touchdowns. Good enough to give him a little north of 200 fantasy points, enough for 18th at the position, and 13.3 fantasy points per game, coming in at 22nd. Now, playing with the supporting cast that New England had last year, definitely needed to continue to be a pretty strong presence in that passing game for Tom Brady. Finishes with that very strong stretch of 9 games in a row where he finishes as a running back 2. A couple down games, and then that massive boom game that gave him 20% of his fantasy points in a single outing against Houston. And then back to a couple more running back 2 games, finishes the season out on a low note. He is getting a bit older, but I still like his upside in this offense. I do think that with Cam Newton coming into town, they're going to continue to use him in check down situations. We know that Cam Newton was able to heavily utilize Christian McCaffrey while he was still in Carolina, so I'm not worried as far as James White not getting the looks that he needs. They didn't really do anything else to improve the weapons around James White that much either. It's not like he's going to get a massive amount of carries, but should still be pretty heavily involved in the passing game heading into 2020. Really, the bigger question is how many pass attempts will there be with Cam Newton. It's probably going to go down considerably, compared to what Tom Brady was doing in the past. But still, I'd probably be more excited about James White upside with Cam Newton than I would be with Jarrett Stidham, because at least this offense should be able to do something. Now, last year he finished with 95 targets, which was 6th most in the NFL. For running backs, 645 receiving yards, which was 3rd most, and 6.5 yards per touch, which was number 2. Didn't really do much once he got the ball, 10.1% juke rate, which is 56th at the position, but because of the targets, and this is the thing we have to keep reiterating over and over again for PPR leagues, receptions are much more valuable than carries. Finishes with a plus 28.7 production premium, and good for number 8 at the position. So given the volume that he was given, performing that much better for fantasy, and it makes a lot of sense because of how much he's being used as a pass catcher. There's still 124 vacated targets in New England, so again, even though there's probably going to be a decent bit of that pie that's shrinking with Cam Newton coming to town, I'm less worried about James White prospects because he's not going to have a lot of his carries vultured away from Cam Newton because he didn't have a lot of carries anyway. Whereas a guy like Sony Michel could see a lot of his goal line carries go down if Cam Newton is taking a lot of the goal line runs. He could steal a lot of his touchdowns, so I'm not really worried about the cap to James White upside. I think this helps him in where he's going in drafts right now. He's a complete bargain. You can typically get him in the double-digit rounds, and he could very well finish exactly where he did last year, which would make him a screaming value on draft day, which if you're deploying any type of a zero running back strategy, James White has kind of been that guy you've been targeting for the past couple years, and you'd probably get away with doing it one more time. So we have him projected to get 230 rushing yards, but 60 receptions and 511 receiving yards and 5 total touchdowns. That doesn't give him nearly as much upside as usual. Again, we're expecting him to regress slightly, but we do think that there's plenty of room for that to grow back up if for some reason the Patriots defense isn't as strong as it was last year, or that Cam Newton is just the beast that we remember him to be. This offense could see a massive step forward than where we're currently projecting it. Then James White would go right back up to a 200 plus fantasy point performer, and Yeah, that's exactly why there's plenty of upside here for James White. So still like James White a good bit. Definitely worth taking in the later rounds of drafts. And that's about it. So, what do you guys think about James White this year? What do you think about the Patriots offense as a whole? Are you guys excited to see what Cam Newton can do? Do you think he's washed? Do you think Jared Stidham wins out? I don't think there's any chance that that happens, but we'll see. And hopefully, there's even a season to have that discussion. But overall, if you're going to take a running back, I'd rather take the upside with a guy like James White. Or if you're going to take any running back and you don't want to spend any money, take a shot on Damian Harris with the last pick of your draft. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.